What's up, people? In this video, JN told me to react to Taylor Budd, a couple of his videos. Semen retention, not particularly interested in that because I have kind of talked about that and beat it to death. 50 days no food, though. This seems a little bit more interesting, I guess. So, oh my God, no. I will talk about that and do this video, and here we go. If you guys have any other recommendations,
on Amazon, info in the
if you have any recommendations for videos or blah blah blah, let me know in a commentarino.
What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube?
Yeah, it's Audra Bear, and my info's in the description on Instagram too. So she got some questions for me. It's a Q&A because I haven't eaten, or supposedly haven't eaten in 50 days.
50 days.
Yeah,
You
like
made a post today saying 50 days, no food.
it's not like, to me, I feel like the body's always feeding. So she got a bunch of questions. So
The questions started rolling on Instagram and Facebook, so I wrote a few down so we can talk about it. Get those questions answered about 50 days and no food. So first of all, if you're not eating, what are you drinking?
any kind of liquid, really, any smoothie, like not necessarily any smoothie, but coconut water, tea, green juices, smoothies, and pea milk.
Yeah.
Just say that sounds so unappetizing saying pea milk, right?
Yep,
Right?
that's what it is.
I mean, like sweet pea milk though, like peas, like that was created by Gregor Mendel, like the botanist that created the plant known as the pea, not like urine. Just saying, just for the record. Because you gotta
clarify. You never know these days. You gotta
I'm not taking shots at anybody. I'm just saying that that's not what I'm doing.
So I guess another question was smoothies is eating, or I guess is smoothies eating?
Yeah, I feel like the body's always feeding, so you just choose the density in which the body's gonna feed from. The energy's always available. It's just like which level of density like you want to feed from. And so yeah, I think smoothies is definitely eating. You know, just like I think music is eating. I think sex is eating. I think good conversation is eating. I think walking your dog is eating.
You're always consuming.
Yeah, any movement.
Everything is food.
Yeah,
All around you.
Yeah, I say any movement or activity or non-activity that brings about oneness. It's filling.
It's food.
It's filling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Makes sense. Okay, next question. Are you hungry?
She's hot, Audra Bear. She's another breatharian. I remember reading an article about her. People were not like making fun of her necessarily. Shit, my fucking shit's about to die. Hold on. Ugh. Oh my God. All right, there we go. I wonder, like, gossip time. Like, do you think he had sex with her? Do you think they hooked up? For sure they did, right? I mean, come on, like, definitely, right? For sure. Let me know. Leave me a comment. What do you think? Did she? Come on, for sure they did, right? That's what I need to do. You know, this reminds me actually. Like, I made a post on 4chan fucking like 6 months ago. And I was kind of like struggling with the whole YouTube thing, and I wanted to like fish for ideas as far as what I could make videos about. And basically, I started this thread on 4chan, and it said, pretend that you like want to start a YouTube channel. What's the fastest way to like make a name for yourself in the health and fitness industry? And the most popular like response was like, pick one food. Or like pick one food and eat only that food and claim that one food that you chose is responsible for like all of your good results. And everybody was like, oh my God, yeah, you got to do this. This is the best. And I know like breatharian, I know that's not only picking one food. It's basically just not chewing food, only drinking food and doing breathing exercises, I guess, and yoga. And like all of this stuff where he's like, yeah, like sex is eating, fucking talking is eating, playing music is eating, like whatever it is. Look at this. Like, come on. That's what else? Like, you know that like South Park episode where Carmen starts like sticking food up his ass? Like he starts putting food in his ass to eat it, and he like starts shitting out his mouth. Yeah, I probably wouldn't want to do that. It's not very sexy. I don't think I'd get Audra Bear like coming on my channel and being like, let's do a question answer. But what were the questions that they even asked? Like, what do you eat? Smoothies? Are you hungry? Well, let's see what he says. Is he hungry?
Eat his food.
No, I don't know. It's like I always say, like, you know, like, are you hungry? I'm like, I'm not hungry. Like, I could eat.
I could eat, but when he says eating, it really means like a juice, or can I make you a smoothie, or like something. Like that's our food. Like, are you hungry? Do you want to eat? Like that's the food.
Yeah, that's a meal. Yeah, like
Make you a juice or smoothie.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, you know, it's like, and I guess if I really wanted to chew food, I mean, I know I could, because like nothing can harm me and everything is me. But at this point in my life,
You need it.
I'd rather go less dense because less is more, and that's just where I'm at. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at in the process.
More time for so many more things. So
Yeah,
many other things.
yeah, just more space. Less space between me and my breath. So me and God, basically. There's no less space when there's less gunk right here, and then so I can have more space with people like you. But just you, really. No one else.
That's about it.
With myself, outside myself.
Yeah. What's another question? What does your urine look like?
Oh, no, honestly, I mean, that's just gonna.
It's not that different.
I'm saying, yeah, and I really wouldn't change it. That's gonna just vary more so, I guess, about wherever you are in your process overall. Because like, This is more so my lifestyle.
It's not going through a detox anymore because you've done this so many times.
Yeah.
Your body's not adjusting; it's already there.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of like this is just the maintenance. So
Yeah.
it feels normal.
Yeah, for me, it's just more like remembering the life that I was already living. Because like I was telling you, like most of 2013 and a lot of some years, I was on mainly liquids for more than half a year, and didn't eat much for the whole year, like as far as chewing. So like, I feel like it's more so the lifestyle. It's not a detox thing anymore. So the
I guess you
urine,
did
the urine isn't.
something about the detox. Was it healing crisis happened a couple weeks ago?
What's up?
With your back.
Oh yeah, like that type of stuff. Yeah, definitely stuff like that. Anything like any type of old anything that's come to the surface. Yeah, like anything from my past. It just like.
Oh, JN, what's up, bro? Why'd you ask me to do videos on this guy? Really, like, the other video was also fucking weird, man. Like, I don't know, why am I so, like, what do I care? You know what I mean? So okay, let's like look at this like in a practical sense, right? Like, why okay, so if you look at this guy, I guess his skin looks pretty good. He's got some definition here. He's not in bad shape, I guess. It seems I don't want to say he seems intelligent. Like, he doesn't, I don't know, is it really like intelligent? Because okay, so when I hear him talk about this stuff, I know, or I think I can like read between the lines and understand that he is referring to nuanced concepts with like a word or two words. Like, I'm not eating, so I'm just getting closer to God. It's me and my breath, right? Like, I know what he really means is like, I'm not eating, so I don't have to like deal with all of the extra shit that, no pun intended, like that's involved with eating, preparing food, cooking food, eating food, actually like going to the toilet. So I'm allowed to like spend more time meditating, which makes me feel really good physically because I'm breathing really deeply and the oxygen is going to my brain and making me feel amazing. And I'm able to live a much like less stressed life because of all of this, right? Like, I can like read between the lines, and I think that's what he's saying. Like, I understand that, but it's communicated in such a like lazy way. I just feel like it's lazy. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's like intended to be lazy, but it's, or simplified, I guess, but like, it's just so, like, I'm almost like, not insulted. I'm like kind of insulted that like it just expects everybody to know what he's talking about. Cause I honestly don't think that most people are going to be interested enough in what he's saying to actually, or even have experience. Like, who the fuck has experience fucking breathing deeply and not eating anything except fucking smoothies? I guess their audience, maybe, because this girl also does that shit. But like, okay, so anyway, here's the point. Is that practically speaking, can you do like a breatharian lifestyle and do 100 burpees every day? Right? Can you do that? Can you live a breatharian lifestyle and train twice a day? I don't think so. But then this guy would probably be like, well, yeah, but you don't need to because that's bad for you, and like it's toxic and you're like going to the devil, it's bad for you and you're gonna die or some shit like that. I don't really know. Healing crisis. Okay, so that's like, I heard this term with when I was looking up parasite cleanses, which he referenced in the last video that I did of him, Dear Black People, which was interesting, I guess. But that's basically like when you are, I don't want to call it detoxing, if you have intestinal parasites or any parasites really, and you go through a parasite cleanse and they start dying, they will release ammonia. It's called the die-off reaction. And this, like all of this extra ammonia that your body is releasing, or that these parasites are releasing when they die, will make you feel like shit. And that's often called a healing crisis. Healing crisis can also refer to like other shit that happens to you as a part of you healing. Yeah, like you're I don't want to use the term detoxing because like if you have a healthy liver, you're pretty much detoxed anyway. And theoretically, like, I guess it's like, if you're fasting, for example, your body will like spend extra energy healing itself, like repairing shit. And through that repair process, well, that doesn't make sense that you would have a healing crisis through that then. To be fair, I've only done one parasite cleanse, haven't really had too many more healing crises crises since then. So maybe I'm not the best person to ask about this. Anyway, let's see what else.
Whenever you build a new house, you just got the old one. You got to take the old stuff out. I feel like it's like with everything, like all the old teeth I had too, like that was just dead in my face. Like, you know, they just eventually got purged. Yeah, like, and I just feel like it's my body just cleaning the template to start over in those areas. So yeah, no, it's definitely more so like overall. I guess overall the detox is for sure. It's an overall detox for sure. But at this point, it's a lifestyle. It's more so like remembering my life because I was on liquids for a while. I really didn't start chewing again until I started like living outside myself and start forgetting the breath.
Yeah.
That's when the last time, because I was trying to change people and trying to like tell them about like the breath and stuff instead of just breathing and attracting. And then that's when I got like hungry and tired and then I started chewing again. Because I feel like the chewing is really just like when you're not having the proper sexual alignment. You think you're more frustrated, so then you want to chew. I don't think I know that's what it is.
Chewing is anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. It's just frustration.
You're just taking it out of the food.
Yeah, if you just think about it like that, like people just like are more satisfied with crushing things, and that's just all. It's just a really intimate way of crushing things, and like hearing yourself crush it in your mouth and all that.
Satisfying.
Yeah, like yeah, you know what I mean. If you're frustrated, especially crunchy and salty, and like if it's bread, you know, then you're like it's soothing, and you know, soft is like you know they all have different like traits, I guess, the textures. So like I feel like at this point, as far as the things that's in my life, as far as the textures, I don't need to chew.
Yeah, you need to feel those things.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm that frustrated enough to chew. I feel like chewing is just totally like. If you just thought about doing this like an hour a day for 3 days, 3 hours every day, or a half hour, it just don't make no sense. 3.5 hours a day of grinding your teeth. Yeah. It don't make no sense to me in the long run. If you look at it like that, I think it just don't make no sense to me. You know what I mean? Because it's really just smashing your teeth against each other for, you know, at least an hour and a half a day, probably if you're having 3 meals a day, probably. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Something like that around
and if not, then you're not chewing your food properly.
Yeah, that's true.
So and again, like my man used to always say, I had a friend of mine used to always say, like, man, cars are less than us. We created them, and they use a better fuel than us. They use liquid.
Fuel,
yeah. So how can they? And they're designed after us. They're not a greater machine than us because we created them, and they use liquid. So we don't. Why don't we use liquid? We don't. You know, cars don't use chunky fuel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
digest.
Yeah.
It's built off the same digestive system.
Yeah. We're supposed to treat everything to a liquid.
Yeah.
And air is just like a really, really, really light liquid. You know what I mean? So people think you're not eating, but you know that's because their sexual alignment is off. So they can't feed.
Bro, are you trolling me, JN? Are you trolling me? Are you actually trolling me? You said this. I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but like the logic for not chewing your food. Okay, like again, like I said before, like he says like 50% stuff that I'm like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense, and then 50% shit that's just like way out there. Like what? Like what he was saying, like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like grinding your teeth for an hour a day, like going like that, like chewing your food. I guess that could like somehow lead to some sort of like negative experience just from like putting your face into that shape for that amount of time. Okay, and I guess that like chewing food is a very intimate experience. I guess you could say that, you could make that argument. But then, you know, my friend said once that cars are less than us because we created them and they use liquid fuel, so we should also use liquid fuel. Cars use fucking gasoline and they like burn the gasoline in the fucking internal combustion engine. That's what cars use, right? Like what about fucking electric cars? They use electricity. Should we also use electricity? Oh, but dog, we do use electricity. Humans are made of electricity and like stardust and antimatter. It's the problem with like lazy communication like this. Was that this video that I said this or the last one? It's like everything that you say is so flexible that you can just be like, oh yeah, actually that's what I meant. It's like this other thing. Anyway, I'm sorry, Taylor Budd. I'm sorry, bro. Do your thing. No hate. I just don't agree with anything you say. I'm sorry. Yeah. I think that like, you know, here's what it comes down to in my opinion, right? We have teeth for a reason, right? Like humans evolved. A lot of people think that evolution, what it really is that like human beings like started chewing food and like we evolved teeth because we needed something to chew the food with, and the teeth just like got like bigger and bigger with progressive generations until we had teeth. I know like whatever, Neanderthals had bigger teeth, probably fine, but like that's kind of the idea. What it actually is that the humans who had teeth were selected for, and the humans who didn't have teeth were not selected for and they died out, right? Like it's a bad example, I guess, with human beings. But like, let's say take fucking mountain goats, for example, right? Like if all these goats that live in this area on the fucking mountains, the ones who had the hooves who could like cling to the mountains better, they survived and they reproduced more. So then, and the other ones that didn't, they died off and didn't reproduce. So then all of a sudden, after a couple generations, you have an area that's populated only with goats that have like the right types of hooves for those mountains. It's not that they adjusted over time to the mountains and like gradually grew more fucking hoof-like in response to the mountains. It's just that one day, one of them had like super awesome hooves as like a mutation. And that one, because it was so well adapted, it was able to produce more offspring that like, you know, in a couple generations, all of them had the fucking super hooves because it was just so successful and fucking, you know, did its thing. but I guess if you want to like draw an analogy to like human beings, anyway, the point is this: human beings have teeth because we evolved to have fucking teeth. Okay, and our teeth are not for any purpose other. Correct me if I'm wrong. Other than like chewing food, is that not what they're for? So you're gonna say that like now because we have a fucking blender, like blenders are somehow like what human beings have needed this whole time to make your smoothies? Come on, bro. I don't know. Or like a fruit, to like squeeze your juice and make a fruit all of a sudden is now better than millions of years of human evolution. I'm sorry, but I disagree. Yeah, I'm sure he's a vegan, but like eating raw meat is great. Requires minimal chewing as well. Like when I was in Vietnam, I would buy raw liver because it was so cheap. It was like fucking 10 cents a pound or something. And it was so cheap. It was so disgusting to eat because it just tastes awful that I would just cut it really thin and I would just swallow it whole and I wouldn't even chew it. Had no problems at all whatsoever. The meat I would chew because I kind of enjoyed that with like a little bit of salt. But yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, like being an athlete is the peak of the human condition. Like the more athletic you are, the more healthy you are, in my opinion, right? Like, because if we look at it on a continuum, you have people over here, let's say, who are sedentary and eat like shit and are not athletic at all because their sedentarism and poor diet prevents them from performing athletic activity. That the athletic activity is the test, right? And then on the other side of the continuum, you have, let's just say, CrossFit athletes who train to be fit in every sort of way. They train for endurance, they train for strength, they train for flexibility, they train for like performing movements awkwardly with lots of weight over extended periods of time. Arguably the most athletic types of athletes on the planet, you could make that argument, with a clean diet, let's say. Like that cannot be done, in my opinion, on a breatharian diet. Therefore, being a breatharian is inferior in terms of overall health to CrossFit, for example. CrossFit's maybe an extreme example because those types of workouts, you are likely to get an injury. However, you could make the argument that the increased level of overall fitness and care spent on your body will increase your rate of healing to make up for the arguably minor injuries that you might get as a result of training. If you're super out of shape and you tweak your shoulder, it's a big deal. You might have that injury for years, but if you're a fucking CrossFit athlete and you tweak your shoulder, like you'll be fine after like a couple ice baths and, a little bit of rest. I think that's my theory. I don't know.
Less is more. You can feed more of your alignments right. Your spine's right. But yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah, makes sense. So, are you still working out?
Sexually.
Yes.
Sex worker.
Sex worker.
Yeah, that's it. Really like sex, and then like occasional basketball. I've been going a minute now.
Probably a month almost.
Yeah, something like that. I break enough sweats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I do enough core work and hips and abs.
Really.
Constant yoga, constant
just moving around, playing.
Acro yoga, basically. You know what I mean? Constantly. We're constantly doing that.
Just moving around.
Yeah, just playing. Mm-hmm. Like our playing is a workout. You know what I mean? For most people, like.
Yeah, I'm like we went on a hike the other day. Did some other stuff outside.
We just play 20 minutes. We're trying to spin around me for 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like we just do body weight shit. Like I mean, it's not like I don't need to like go to the gym. Why do I need to go to the gym to like what? Because you want to just meet chicks that look like you anyway.
I suppose. Is that the goal?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
I suppose.
Yeah. You want to go to the gym?
No.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound fun to me. I don't.
It's not playful. It's a bunch of hard edges in there. And it's not soft.
No.
Yeah, but
And have you lost any weight?
I feel like I lost some, probably like some emotional weight.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really. No.
No.
Other than that, no, like just emotional weight, like just some water. But like that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think I lost anything else.
And another question: does your wife fast with you?
Yo, it's not even like a fast, like I was saying, 'cause I feel like the body's always feeding or whatever.
We're on the same lifestyle though.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's been 50 days for him. I haven't chewed food in 38 days.
Because
I was a couple days behind
4
him.
a.m. now, I'm getting like for 6 a.m.
6 a.m. now, yeah. So okay, so like 40 days. So I'm just a couple days behind him of no food, but the same liquids, smoothies, herbs, whatever, all that sort of stuff. So
but and then
it's been the easiest, smoothest fast ever.
And you have been very active yourself. Like,
yeah,
true.
I'm still working. We're still traveling. Still moving around. Still doing everything. It's crazy. You posted that, and a lot of people are like,
you still going in and out of periods?
Yeah. Yeah, that was another question someone asked. She said, "Do you still get your period?"
It's like 6-hour period.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I calculated it because this is my second period now since fasting, and it was literally a day and a half. So not even that long, really.
It's crazy.
For what it was.
Yeah, I just don't know.
Super light, like hardly any pain. Like there was a little bit of pain for like the first like 2 hours, maybe. That was about it.
I know you were well read already, and you knew about like Morris and Sebi and different people like that and everything. You knew about a lot of things, about the gym and everything. But like I know you really didn't intend like to be breatharian.
No, I wasn't trying to.
This wasn't even your intention.
No, that was the thing. Like as soon as I started breathing and hanging out with him, I think that's when I was just like, I don't really need food anymore.
Yeah,
it was just easier not to eat with all the activities and everything that we were doing throughout the day and traveling and doing all this sort of stuff. Like it was easier for me to just like not eat, and that's still how I feel 40 days later. Like I still feel like if someone put like my favorite food in front of me, I don't even know if I want to take it at this point.
It always feels like it's in a way.
Yeah, it feels lighter. It's so funny. Like even before we were fasting, like we would. spend all this time, like, go to Whole Foods, cut the vegetables, do this and that, like, make the salad, and then, like, we would just sit there and, like, not really want to eat it because we just want to hang out.
Exactly. It's like a salad in a way. Like,
it's literally the only thing that's in the way.
You're across the table from me now, and we'll be able to touch you. Like, I got that just from, however long.
Yeah, so even that, like, even though it's fun to, like, taste and smell and have all the textures and everything in salad, but, like,
I'd rather touch you than have a salad touch.
Yeah. Which is an extra thing, just another thing to have with this to-do list. So, like, when you're cutting back on, like, we still have activities, like, I'll still make smoothies or we'll go to Whole Foods for a smoothie or whatever, but, like, it doesn't take as much time, near as much time.
Yeah, then you can, like, just, like, in a smoothie,
yeah,
still
exactly.
God, I hate them so much. I don't actually hate them. Like, props. Like, oh, so this is his wife, I guess, is what it is. They're married, right? Kind of jealous, not gonna lie. Not because she's hot. I mean, she is. I think she's hot. I said that in the beginning. But like, imagine that's your life. You know, it's kind of an attractive lifestyle. Like, you just do yoga and travel and like have sex with your hot wife, who's also down to just like drink smoothies and travel and just like live a super minimalist lifestyle. Sounds pretty good, not gonna lie. Yeah, sounds great. Sign me up, bro. I take back everything bad that I ever said about the breatharian lifestyle. I'm ready to do it. Just do yoga all the time. When I listened to that part about like not wanting food, about how they were like, yeah, like we didn't even want to eat the food, blah blah blah. It reminded me of when I was doing yoga. Like, okay, fine. I think the type of yoga that I was doing is probably a lot harder than what they're doing. I don't really know, but I was doing some fucking hard ass yoga and like I needed food after that, but I didn't feel like I needed I didn't need like any meat, you know what I mean? I was eating a lot of eggs at the time, but I feel like I could have just like lived on smoothies now that I think about it, because you feel so satisfied from breathing deeply. Because like, I guess if you want to look at it scientifically, you're super oxygenating your blood or your brain or something, because you take, in the yoga classes I was doing at least, you take like really deep breaths throughout the entire class for like an hour and 15 minutes. It's very strenuous. You sweat. You're like stretching also, which makes you feel kind of good. So I'm assuming these guys, like, look at this, look at this look on their face. Like, look how happy they are. I kind of hate them. Super happy, right? And that you just feel like really good and really happy when you're done with class. So I'm assuming these guys will do like hours, like way more time of deep breathing, because they're like all about this whole breatharian shit. Yeah, I can only imagine like how happy they are. And like, I don't know, man, kind of hate them now. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Just super jealous. God, they make money doing this, don't they? Damn it. Do a day in the life, king. All right, anyway. Yeah, so, okay, fine. I guess it makes sense, the whole like not wanting to eat when you do yoga or when you're breathing deeply. All right, let's finish this, please.
Hey, what's up?
Any more questions? Were you working out last week? Do you have any dreams?
I dream all the time. I got like millions of bodies all over the planet, that seems.
Yeah.
I just be picking up and putting down. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I constantly, like, whenever I'm unconscious from this body, I'm definitely I'm doing unworkings in other bodies or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, very vivid. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I retain it all because it's so much. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much sometimes. Sometimes it's just like, I don't even try to get it all at once sometimes, because I'm like, okay, this is a series of dreams and a series of epiphanies that are going to come over the course of this moon cycle, and I'm just going to let this happen one at a time. Yeah. One breath at a time. Yeah. A lot of people were asking questions like, you need to take videos, or you need the camera following you around, or prove it, don't believe this. You know, making all these comments. Yeah, like, how do you not eat for 50 days? You know, like, that just shocks people so much to think about that, you know, because you never taught that. Yeah, exactly. They're never going to teach you what you don't need. They're going to tell you what you do need, though, supposedly, to try to sell you something. If they taught you what you didn't need, then there's no way you can make you a customer. So I feel like it's just a gradual lifestyle change, you know, changing your ingredients, and then changing the portions, and then changing the way you prepare the portions, and then eventually just less and less dense until you find other ways of feeding, you know. And I feel like the best way to feed is to feed, like, to literally give. You know what I mean? Like, to the word express, that's like the way to feed, because, you know, there's no separation, so to give is to receive. So I feel like that's it. So you just replace like the parasitism to being a producer, and just like a switch. I feel like so just more hours of the day are this, and conscious day, you know, and then others just knee-jerk reaction, and then you just kind of just more consciousness, less knee-jerk reaction, less sleep. Yeah, more real touching. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I guess a lot of people are in disbelief, but I mean, I've been with him every single day for the last 50 days plus, so like I know that he's not eating. And I would be able to see it in his face. I'd probably be able to tell it right away if you were. Yeah, you know everything. Not that you're trying to hide anything like that, but it's just like, this is change energy. Yeah, for sure. Immediately, yeah, for sure. No, definitely. Because I knew you when you were eating, and now I know that you're not eating, and it's a completely different energy. Yeah, no, definitely. For both of us, really. It's just like you're more you. Yeah. I mean, like, just getting rid of the excess and coming back to the center, coming back to who you really are. Exactly. Like, and I feel like either way, even if I was to be like, yo, I got this camera crew following me around, and they basically hear they're third party, and I can trust them. You can trust that they're non-biased. People would still say they're lying. So it don't make a difference.
Doesn't matter.
It don't really matter. Somebody always gonna say you lying or whatever until they really meet you or whatever. But
Maybe I should be that for you.
But
Be
people,
the camera crew. Be like, here's what Taylor's eating now. Here's our first green juice of the day.
yeah, he's eating right now. He's breathing.
He's breathing. Here's our breath session.
Yeah.
Like, just to prove it to everybody.
He
Like,
turned
this
some
is
music
real.
on. He turned music on. He's feeding off the music now. Like,
Now we're stretching.
Yeah.
This is like our daily routine.
yo, I feel like it's just when people.
I think if people saw that though, people saw like the routine from like waking up,
But they
going to
gotta
bed,
pay for
like yeah. But like if they saw like what actually happened, I feel like it would make sense why you don't eat.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. They don't see it. Yeah, and they don't see the value in the breath because they don't practice it, so then they don't see it themselves. It's like,
All right, I've seen enough. Okay. Oh, why am I such a hater? I'm such a hater. I'm sorry, Taylor Bud. Take back everything I said about you. Everything bad. You're living the dream. God, when did I turn into such a hater? I kind of want to try that. You know, I can't. I don't know. How do you just like give up everything and just breathe and like have sex with your hot wife? Oh, how do you do that? It's terrible. But you know what I was thinking when I was watching this? It's like, you know, he like says like crazy shit. He's like, you know, do you dream? Yeah, I got bodies all over the universe. Like, I wonder sometimes if she's just like, yeah, but like, what do you like? Can you just be normal, kind of thing? I don't know, whatever. I don't want to like fucking sow dissidence in the happy relationship. But don't you wonder like sometimes if anyway, whatever, who cares? Okay, I guess this one was slightly more interesting than like the black people one. I don't want to do any more videos by this guy. I feel, not that I feel dumber. What do I feel about this? Breatharian. I guess kind of what I said still stand. Like if I had to choose all of the trappings of like a high level CrossFit athlete and all of the requirements that you have in terms of like eating food and like training so frequently, as opposed to a breatharian lifestyle, I feel like the CrossFit would be ultimately more fulfilling. Although I'm not really sure, because to be fair, like I felt so good when I was doing yoga and I was only breathing deeply for an hour and 15 minutes a day. I was eating very light also, and I was super lean. And like I just felt like everything was where it was supposed to be, except that the rest of my life was kind of had fallen apart. But hey, listen, when you're like living the dream, you've got all your, you know, you've all got all your shit handled, like you're in decent shape, seem happy, and you've got a hot wife, and you're kind of famous on YouTube. Like, well, what else do you need, honestly? Like, when's that going to happen for me? Actually kind of jealous of this guy. Okay, anyway, do you guys have, what do you think about this breatharian shit? Like, am I crazy to think this is kind of like an attractive lifestyle? Let me know. Anybody out there try this possibly? Let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace. Also, if you have any other recommendations, let me know.